The sawblade launcher, or the alt nailgun, is the most overpowered weapon in Ultrakill. It isn't any of the rail cannons, it isn't the marksman, it isn't the jumpstart nailgun. The sawblade launcher is undoubtedly the most overpowered weapon over any other weapon, and I'll explain why. Compared to every other weapon in the game, it is extremely powerful, despite how easy it is to use. It takes hardly any skill to use, and you can just destroy hordes of enemies with it with ease. Before I start explaining why it's overpowered though, I would like to point out that I don't think the weapon needs to be changed. It is indeed overpowered, but that's kind of why so many people like it in the first place. But still, what exactly can the sawblade launcher even do? The sawblade launcher is the alternate weapon for the nailgun, and it can be found in 4-4 Clair de Soleil, however you pronounce it, in the green layer after firing the electric rail cannon at the blue puddle, which will then open a door allowing you to get the sawblade launcher. It replaces the nailgun and its other variants as well. First off, we have the attractor sawblade launcher, or the blue sawblade launcher. It can fire 10 silver saws that each bounce off the walls 15 times before it is destroyed. Each time a silver saw goes through an enemy, it deals 0.75 damage, and it can hit an enemy up to 3 times, which means a silver saw can do up to 2.25 damage or 22.5 damage if all 10 silver saws are fired. It takes about 2 seconds for a silver saw to reload. The alt fire of the attractor sawblade launcher fires a magnet. Only 3 magnets can be placed. Magnets do have a lot of tech and synergy with other weapons, but we're just going to focus on what it does with the sawblade launcher. When a magnet is out, any kind of saws fired will orbit around the magnet, damaging or killing the enemies in the area in the magnet. The second variant of the sawblade launcher, or the overheat sawblade launcher, fires a normal sawblade when using the primary fire, which does 0.6 damage, and it can hit an enemy up to 1 or 2 times, depending on the heat of the weapon. It can bounce off walls 10 times before it is destroyed. However, the main focus of the overheat sawblade launcher is the alt fire of the weapon, which fires an overheated saw that takes 8 seconds to reload. The overheated saw deals 1 damage, however, it can hit an enemy up to 22 times, which means it can deal up to 22 damage. It can set husks on fire as well, like insurrectionists or schisms. The overheated saw is also able to bounce off walls perpendicularly, which means that it will bounce off in a straight line in the same angle of the wall, and it can bounce off the walls around 70 times. I'm not sure if this is right, and it's hard to count, so I'll just assume that it's 70. Then we have the jumpstart sawblade launcher. Its primary fire also fires regular saws, just like the overheat variant, but the alt fire of the jumpstart sawblade launcher shoots out a cable, identical to the cable from the jumpstart nailgun, and when attached to an enemy, the fire rate of the primary fire will double. Every saw that hits an enemy while the cable is attached to an enemy reduces the charge needed to conduct the enemy by 1 second. This means that if you hit an enemy 2 times with the sawblade launcher while the cable is attached to them, then the electric shock will take 3 seconds instead of the usual 5 seconds. But the saws don't increase conductivity, so no one really uses this thing over the jumpstart nailgun. Saws also do extra damage to fodder enemies like schisms, strays, or soldiers, as it can insta-kill strays. Saws can also be punched as well. It's not really that useful, but if there's a fodder enemy that isn't in the range of your sawblade trap, then you can punch it towards them, which is cool, I guess. Now that I've explained what the sawblade launcher can do, why do I think that it's overpowered? First off, a saw trap with all 10 silver saws and an overheat saw can do up to 44.5 damage, which is a lot. Not only that, but it takes hardly any skill to pull off as well. Just fire a magnet then hold left click. Despite how easy it is, it can easily kill hordes of enemies and bring bosses to half health right when the fight even starts. Flesh Prison can be brought down to almost half health from just setting up a saw trap with all 10 silver saws and an overheat saw. Unlike any other weapon in the game, there's no aim, skill, or technique needed to make this weapon extremely powerful. Just plop a magnet down, hold a left click and watch the whole room just die. And the fact that it's that easy is what makes it so overpowered. The sawblade launcher alone can even kill a hideous mass, which is arguably the most threatening enemy in the cyber grind. The only time where it's kinda skillful or impressive to use the sawblade launcher is using the overheat saw to create saw traps that go in a straight line, since they at least require positioning to pull off. The sawblade launcher is overpowered despite how easy it is, but there's nothing wrong with it. If there's people who like using a strong weapon that's easy to use, then they can just use the sawblade launcher. It might take much less skill in comparison to other weapons, but that doesn't mean it's a bad weapon. I did make this entire video explaining how it's overpowered, but I don't think it needs a nerf or a change. If it did get a nerf, there would definitely be more backlash than support, because people love the way that it is. I'll say it again, the sawblade launcher is the most overpowered weapon in Ultrakill. You don't need to aim with it, you don't have to do anything crazy, it's easy to use, and you can easily kill an entire room with it. But that's why people love using it. The fact that it's so easy to use despite how powerful it is kind of why it's so great. But yeah, the sawblade launcher is fun. If this video motivated you to try it more, then you can go do that. I didn't really compare this weapon to the other version, the nail gun, because they're really different. But I don't discourage using the nail gun because it's pretty powerful too. Video on that soon. But yeah, that's it about the sawblade launcher. See ya.